What's going on there, folks? Good morning, good afternoon. It's the Earthmaster here on this Monday, December 12th, 2022. It's about 11:32 a.m. California time here along the West Coast, and the latest earthquake activity shows a 2.4 into the area of Oklahoma. That's the latest quake there on the globe. Been having a little bit of activity around Yellowstone as well. I'm going to go ahead and check this out real quick. A little bit of swarming coming in here. The USGS being pretty prompt about showing these earthquakes that have been kicking off here at Yellowstone earlier this morning. Actually, within the last couple hours, it looks like. Not a huge swarm, but we've got about 9 earthquakes or so since about last night. Quick glance here of the Yellowstone thumbnails. The overview shows the activity kicking up a little bit last night and also here within the last couple hours. Just a couple small swarm earthquake activity here. Very small microquakes. These are not big ones whatsoever, but either way, pretty surprised that USGS is on the ball this morning with reporting those little earthquakes. Right, there's the Oklahoma earthquake we've seen on the globe, a 2.4 earthquake near Thomas, Oklahoma. Looks like about, what do we got, 2.2 kilometers for the depth of that earthquake, north of Weatherford area. And if I remember right, there is some fault systems that do sit out here. Let me check out the satellite view real quick. Although we have fault systems, we also have quite a bit of oil pumping operations and looks like potentially wastewater injection or disposal wells out there. Those are going to be the little square type deals. Little wastewater ponds, I believe, here. So a little bit of activity out there in Oklahoma today within that zone. And some activity, it looks like eastern Oklahoma as well, 2.3 coming in yesterday. Eastern portion of the country for now, pretty quiet. The west coast, got a little bit of activity. I believe this one was from yesterday. 2.7 near Petrolia down there into the southern end of the Cascadia subduction zone, about 23 kilometers deep. And further south, we got a little bit of activity across the creeping segment of the San Andreas Fault. Not seeing any major swarming down here in the southern portion of the state. Little swarm, it looks like, over here around the Johnson Valley Fault. Haven't really seen too much activity over here, but looks like we got about 10 earthquakes or so in the last 24 hours. Nothing big, all below, looks like all below 2.0 for that little swarm kicking up there. That's on the North American side of the plate boundary. Nothing specific going on here across the southern branch of the San Andreas Fault for now. We did see some activity up north into Alaska overnight with a 4.5 coming in into the subduction zone levels here of the Pacific Plate and North American Plate boundary. 4.5 at 33 kilometers deep. And a couple other earthquakes around the vicinity, including a 4.1. That one's way over here along the Aleutian Trench. But either way, definitely a little bit of noticeable increasing activity across the Alaska region up north as well. Got a little oddball quake over here near Solomon, Alaska. 3.8 coming in. That was yesterday. At about 13 kilometers deep there for that 3.8. Over here we're on the northwestern rim of the Pacific Ring of Fire. Most of this activity there from yesterday. We did have one more after midnight, a 4.6 into the Izu Trench at about 73 kilometers deep. Latest earthquake here regionally is a 4.8 into the Indonesia region. Looks like around the Banda Sea, 541 kilometers deep. We're getting a lot of deep movement down here recently. This area is definitely a sensitive zone for plate tectonics. Looking at the earthquake 3D globe, still shows quite a bit of swarming across the region in the smaller quake range. Quite a few 2s and 3s across the Java Trench, and looks like some further activity. Looks like there was 2 earthquakes here, somewhat deep into the Banda Sea zone. It's going to be this other earthquake here, I believe. Yep, 4.5. So a lot of deeper activity with some subsequent shallower movement here along the Java Trench. with all this activity taking place, might want to watch this zone pretty closely. We have seen some activity here recently, but that doesn't mean that that we shouldn't keep an eye on it. Over here, India, westward, most of this activity here from yesterday. Not really seeing anything kicking off so far today. And the Atlantic Ocean looks pretty calm. Far as earthquakes go, up around the Puerto Rico Trench, we got some activity kicking up outside of the British Virgin Islands once again around the Puerto Rico Trench. Some threes kicking off earlier this morning. It's been pretty active here recently in that zone. And over here further to the southwest, some movement. Looks like a 5.5 just off the coast of Panama. That one coming in just about an hour or so ago for that earthquake. Pretty shallow movement. That is on the Cocos Plate and the Nazca Plate boundary. Very close to the Caribbean Plate boundary as well, but it's about there on that zone outside of the Cocos Ridge. A little fracture zone. The Panama fracture zone, in fact. Going to see that out there along the oceanic crust. Further down south into the Peru area and Chile area. Looks like most of this from yesterday. We did see a couple upper fours into the area of South America. And a glance here at this region for the smaller quakes. Looks like there's definitely been a couple overnight. Some 2s and 3s possibly down there along the Chile area. Showing up there on the EMSC model. Over here around Fiji, this activity here, most of it from yesterday. One earthquake coming in early this morning. A 4.8 super deep, 523 kilometers deep. This area has seen a bunch of deep movement here recently. And of course we had all those 7s up here and 6s around the area a couple weeks back, and this area just wants to go at it again. Definitely seen that deeper movement down dip into the trenches. Still got to watch the zones south here along the Kermadec Trench through New Zealand. We really haven't seen any major activity taking place here in this region. Let's see what we got. Big Island of Hawaii. Most of the activity today confined to Pahala and the Kilauea Volcano crater area. And let's go ahead and give a quick glance here at the volcano hazards map. See what Mauna Loa is doing today. If their site is working. I'm wondering if it's down again. Almost looks like it's... Oh, there we go. That was a little slow, but alrighty. Mauna Loa. We'll check out the latest informational statement here on this volcano. Yeah, that is slow. I wonder if they're having a network issue here. I know it's not on my side because that's a little weird. Still thinking. All right, let me see if we can access it here through this different network. Mauna Loa status report here. Look at that, it's still loading, so I'm going to end that. All right, so this update was put out this morning, it looks like, Monday, about 9:35 a.m. Hawaii time. The northeast rift zone of Mauna Loa, the eruption, may still be active at Fissure 3, but all 2022 lava flows appear to be inactive. Looks like they have found residual incandescence, meaning the light output there, and no lava movement in the Fissure 3 vent. As they were leaving, the field crew looks like they heard some small explosions accompanied by sprays of spatter from the west end of Fissure 3 vent. The channels below the vent appear drained of lava and no longer feed the main flow front. But this is kind of new. This is a little bit of a new development here. They heard some small explosions, and looks like they had a little bit of spatter there from the west end of Fissure 3. So this kind of, this the sudden stoppage there of the flow of magma and the lava output, along with inflation of the tilt meters, kind of makes me think something is definitely jammed down there or blocking the flow of magma from reaching the surface. With this type of wording, Let's see here. Tremor. They're still saying there is no tremor being detected there at the summit or the Northeast Rift Zone. But the Northeast Rift Zone, obviously, inflation is continuing. I wanted to check out that map here if I can get this to pop up. Double check it here. Okay, now it's working. That's a little bit weird. Sometimes those open windows there just freeze up on occasion, I suppose. I'm one of those people that like to keep a lot of windows open. I know it's probably not the best thing, but it happens. Earthquake activity. There's that reading again. Let me go over here and check out this graph once again. Still getting this odd reading. This kind of reminds me of just cracking a brittle rock or something. There's a lot of it. And we've seen this last night, and it looks like it's continuing today as far as that reading on the seismograph. Now I want to check out the windy map, see if this is not some type of wind events going on out here along the Big Island. Things look like they're kind of windy. So that could be a reading what we're seeing there across the area. Of course, the higher elevations are going to show, it should show anyway, some higher readings of wind, even though it's not really picking up here on this map. But we know the Mauna Loa elevation's a lot higher than, say, Hilo, for example. So I think this is missing out a little bit on certain readings. It's only showing about 24 mile per hour gust up there, but I think it might be a little bit higher than that. And this is definitely what would be causing potentially those readings listed on the Mauna Loa seismograph. Looks pretty consistent. But again, we'll continue to check that and see if this dies down once the wind dies down. The tilt meter, let's go zoom in just a little bit more so I can see that. Tilt meter, inflation rates are still continuing, and they've been continuing uptrend ever since the lava output or the activity died down there at Fissure 3. So things are starting to build back up, or they are blocked entirely down there with inflation continuing to show that uptrend here over the past 7 days or so, 8 days, or 7 days, yeah, somewhere around there. 12, looks like the 7th time frame is when it started to build back up a little bit. My math is a little off. 5, there we go. My brain's a little bit overloaded. I had to do a super huge symposium on the planet Mars, which is pretty cool. I love the planet Mars, I do, but I've been overloaded this week with finals for many of my classes. Let's see what else we got here. Webcam images. Let's see what it looks like here today across the area. Looks a little cloudy and not very visible across many of the networks today. So we'll have to check back on that a little bit later. For now, we'll definitely keep an eye on the ongoing events there on the Big Island and update as provided once I get some new information here from the folks that continue to monitor the activity. Let's see, what else do we have out here across the region? GeoNet servers. Taupo Volcano, super volcano, still sits at level 1, it looks like. The monitoring stages. Let's check out the drums here. We did have some activity yesterday, but it kind of looks like things have calmed down completely. Not seeing any earthquake activity whatsoever here overnight and this morning time period. So things are pretty quiet in that area. Of course, around the White Island area, that's kind of sitting up here north of North Island, New Zealand. That's been somewhat pretty active, moderate to heightened volcanic unrest, listed at a alert level 2. The monitoring stations there within this zone doesn't really show a whole lot, and the webcams are not visible currently. But these drums showing not operational there in that area, which probably isn't a good thing, because we need to be monitoring the activity. Let me go over here to the GeoNet servers and let's go back here and check out a couple things. The drum maps for this location. So that one's offline. Check out over here just to the west around Mayor Island. No volcanic unrest alert level 2. But sometimes these seismograph stations can pick up nearby activity, and it doesn't look like there's a whole lot there across that map for that region of New Zealand. All right, space weather activity. Things are just kind of moderate, not really seeing any major uptick. We have seen a couple sea flares this morning and overnight. That's these spikes here getting into the sea threshold. No major flares being reported. Not really expecting anything major. 90% chance of a C flare. M flare at 20. X flare around 1%. And the sunspots, as massive and as numerous as they are, they're not capable of producing any type of major flaring. The dynamics of the magnetic structures amongst all of them don't look like they're going to be harboring anything of significance. But again, we'll continue to monitor them and keep an eye on them. There's a bunch. I haven't seen that many in quite some time up here, but they're all in the green, meaning that most of the magnetic structure is within the stable zones, beta classes. All right, folks, I'm going to jump off here. Have a good day. Stay safe. We'll catch you guys a little bit later on. Some activity, it looks like. What do we got going on there in Southern California? Looks like an adjustment, possibly. It doesn't look like it's an earthquake, but then again, it's kind of hard to tell. And the station I'm referring to is the Barrett station, which sits as the top seismograph station here. Yeah, it kind of looks like it's an adjustment. Sometimes they do that. This one right, see if you guys can see it. There we go. Coming up. Kind of looks like an earthquake, but it's not. It looks like it was adjusted manually or recalibrated somehow. Either way, not an earthquake. All right, folks, have a good day. We'll catch you guys a little bit later on tonight with the complete update. Till then, stay safe out there. We will catch you guys very soon. Peace out.